My grim predictions about the future. Why do civilization implode? Why they collapse from within? Today we experience a bit chaotic situation in economy, chaotic situations in geopolitics, wars are all over. It looks like a political class is unable to take rational decisions, and so on and so on. And of course, everybody is worried about that. But I'm not so much concerned about that, because I know that if there is a will, there is a strength, internal strength, human being can overcome any sorts of crisis. Myself, I grew up in the Soviet Union during its collapse in 1990s. I was a teenager, I was 12 years old that time, and it was extremely hard time to survive. There was, banditism, crime, and unimaginable economic difficulties. But we survived and we thrived. And today I worry about something else. I feel that today the very human being, the very inner power of a human being gets broken. Something like that already has happened in the past, when the great civilizations, ancient civilizations like Egyptian civilization or like a Roman Empire, when they suddenly collapsed and everything seemed okay, the economy is working, the grains, the wheat is growing, the artisans producing their goods, and army is maintaining the order, and everyone is getting paid the salaries, and so on and so on. But something changes. Something within human being changes. So today I find that we have entered into the stage of decadence, into the stage where the old civilization has to die inevitably, and something new have to be born in that process. As I said, I am not a pessimist, I am an optimist. So in this class I want to present also the ideas, the social ideas of my spiritual guru. He worked on that problem in 70s, in 60s actually. And first time I heard that concept in the year 2000. And that time I was really so fascinated with the elegance, with the beauty of that idea. And that time I couldn't even realize that the crisis is so deep, because I looked around, I thought, okay, crisis. I saw the economic crisis, but I didn't understand the crisis of humanity. And he was just so much ahead of his time. And he saw it coming, that crisis that we are experiencing today. I'm not sure that if you are aware of what we are going through as a humanity. So I would like to present the challenge we are facing today, and also solutions that we can implement to endure and to persevere as humans, to carry on with our civilization. And today it is not just local, like Roman Empire. Well, local, the Roman Empire of those days, it was the entire world. But we are globalized today, and all over the globe, we are experiencing the same challenges. Challenge number one is a crisis of intellect. The very basis of knowledge got eroded. The epistemological crisis, sorry for the words like that, but epistemology means the science of knowledge. What is true and what is untrue? Even before we existed all in our own echo chambers. Like, for example, when I came for to the training in the monastery in the year 2005, we had a very nice international team of brothers. Somebody was from Madagascar, somebody was from Singapore, somebody was from France, somebody was from Germany. One brother was from United States of America. One sister was from Israel, one brother was from Syria. So we had all different concepts, all different views of the world. Myself, I grew up in Soviet Union, I got Soviet education, and with that brother from United States, we got good along with, and I respected him. But the moment we spoke with him about history, we spoke about Second World War, which is, for me, is a great patriotic war. At that moment, we almost fight. There was no basis to agree upon, because in his opinion, United States, of course, now if you're watching from United States has won the Second World War, and Soviet Union and other players like Britain here and there, little by little, they helped a little bit. And of course, from my opinion, from where I come from, Soviet Union has won the Great Patriotic War, and United States helped a lot. It did help, but it has not won. It has joined in the last part of the war. So it's like two narratives, two different people, totally convinced from the very, very childhood. They have been absorbing that picture of reality. And when we talk, I found it impossible to come to some kind of alignment and to some kind of truth. So today, this problem has been exacerbated with the social media and algorithms, because the purpose of the algorithms is to keep you engaged in whatever you are doing there in that social platform. So they wouldn't like to rub you the wrong way. They would like to, rub you in a nice way. So you would like to stay there. So we want to see and hear what we believe in. We don't want to see and hear opposite views. They enrage us. They create unpleasant feeling in us. So the intellect, why this crisis of intellect is so important? Because the intellect is one tool that we as human beings have that solves our problems. Intellect creates solution. It creates technology. Technology feeds us, clothes us, shelters us, and so on. But the intellect it's like a prison cell made of glass. You don't see that you are being restricted, but you are restricted through different beliefs. Some people are rich, some people are poor, some people are successful, some people are not successful. It is all determined by the things what we are believing in. Like if I'm sitting in the room and suddenly I want to eat, I go to search for the food. I open every drawer, I open every cabinet, I don't find any food. What should I do then? I should go outside of the room and search for food there outside. So sometimes in my life, I'm restricted by the concepts and beliefs of my intellect, by different resistances that my beliefs produce. So sometimes I need to go and search for the food or for something beyond the wall of my reality, beyond the walls of my reality, beyond my box. So intellect will point out, this is the door, this is the window, this is the solution. But if the intellect has been conditioned and more conditioned, it cannot offer a solution anymore. Like today is the time when the expertise dies, because we would like to listen to the influencers. We wouldn't like to listen to the experts. The experts becoming those people whom we like. This is one. Another thing is the very basis of intellect, which is our nervous system, which is our brain, is getting some deterioration. Because of the endless scrolling, because of the doom scrolling, there is something which is called brain rot. It is the actual term, brain rot. The brain is rotting. The brain is getting damaged by all the fast content that I am consuming. And I'm becoming unable to concentrate for a long time and to see a bigger picture. You know the story about three blind men who came to conceptualize an elephant. So one came and he touches the leg and he says, elephant is like a pillar. And another one was touching the belly of the elephant. The elephant is just like a house, very big. Another one was touching the trunk, and then he was saying the elephant is just like a big snake. So they couldn't agree with each other, everyone existing in their own echo chamber, and they were unable to conceptualize the entire elephant. So this ability to see the entire picture requires a tremendous concentration. It requires calmness of the mind, an ability for sustained thinking. So that ability is slowly getting deteriorated. Another challenge is artificial intelligence. Today we start to delegate decision making to artificial intelligence, which doesn't have a subjectivity. It has only some logical processes, many times flawed and many times very shallow. It is a great instrument I use a lot. But I was raised in the times when we didn't have a calculator to do our maths. And also I do meditation. And in meditation, this ability is especially prized, that to concentrate long time. We try to enhance this ability by meditation, by breathing techniques. For example, normally you breathe 15, 16 times per minute. But when in meditation, you try to breathe only 2 times per minute. And when you breathe slowly, your mind becomes very, very calm. And the mind becomes it acquires tenacity. You can grasp, you can conceptualize. And when we train our breathing, in breathing techniques, we breathe only 1 time per minute. So, the very basis of the solving problems, our intelligence, our intellect, is challenged today. So there is a crisis of the intellect. I don't know where it is going. I mean, every generation, the parents are worried that their children should not become stupid. Like my parents, they used to be so upset when I played the video games. And now it happens that the research shows that actually video games are very good for the mind. It's very good for the intellect, especially the ones which are very dynamics and which require you to take decisions under pressure, tremendous pressure, and you have to think very strongly and concentrate. So that's actually very good for the mind and for the brain. God knows, maybe after 30 years we discover that scrolling is fantastic. But I don't think so. It is not a fantasy, it is a real challenge. Because I see also, I talk to many people and I see that they struggle to grasp the thought, to grasp the concept. You can challenge yourself and you can check yourself. If you can grasp this entire lecture, see the whole picture that I'm drawing to you without getting lost somewhere in the flow of thoughts. So that's your challenge. If you have done, that means your brain is so fresh, just like a cucumber, like very crispy and beautiful. Second crisis is the crisis of the will. Will is a desire to live. I want to live. I want to succeed. I want to struggle. I want to be victorious. That is the will, the crisis of the willpower. So the will is developed by culture. Culture is our literature, music, movies, our human belief system, what is right and what is wrong. So through real culture, a human being develops this desire to live life. And there is pseudo-culture. What is pseudo-culture? Pseudo-culture is something which looks like culture. It is also songs, it is also literature, it is also movies. But that pseudo-culture carries a very destructive ideas and install those destructive ideas in your mind. Pseudo-culture focuses human being on the lower instincts. Culture focuses human beings on the higher instincts. When the mind is focused and when the environment is created, when you are constantly supplied with the cheap pleasure, the pleasure which you don't have to make an effort to achieve. You see, today, everything is working towards there, like marketing. If you make a very complicated website, nobody is going to buy. The person has to be able to understand in 3 sentences what is it about, not too much. And the person has to be able in just 1 click to purchase. So due to necessity to sell, our entire ecosystem is getting more and more streamlined, more and more simplified, less and less effort. Because the brain is extremely energy consuming organ. So the brain doesn't like to make that kind of effort. So we live in the world of easy things, instant things. We want to have instant gratifications. And once you are constantly there is a dripping medicine coming to you. It's just constantly the pleasure is coming and coming and coming and coming inside your system. And it keeps you constantly sedated. You know that I'm not happy, but I'm comfortable. So there is I don't understand. Internally and there is a huge, very interesting fact that Finland is known as the happiest country in the world. Number 3 is Iceland, the happiest country in the world. But in Iceland, by 1,000 people, 170, I think, they use antidepressants. This is the happiest country in the world. Almost 20% of the people, they cope with life with a chemical compensation. Because there is this deep unhappiness. But there is no willpower to change anything. Because somehow I'm sedated by pleasure. I'm sedated by comfortable life. What else do I need? I have everything, but I feel unhappy. So this kind of environment, comfortable, easy, constantly supplying cheap dopamine, cheap pleasure. You can go in internet, you can scroll, you can see something, you can order the food, it will be immediately coming to you. No effort. You are getting sedated and willpower is getting destroyed. So to solve the problem, you need first find the solution intellectually. Secondly, you need to have willpower to solve. You see? Third thing is the crisis of the heart. Today, there is an epidemic of loneliness. Loneliness literally kills people. People are constantly dying from loneliness. In Japan, there is this new phenomenon. They always find some word for an idea. Kodokushi means dying in loneliness. Like 20,000 people a year, they die in loneliness. And they discovered after 2-3 weeks after they have died already, some smell is coming and things like that. So we become very lonely. But at the same time, we don't understand that we need somebody. Because to be with somebody is difficult. It requires adjustment, it requires arguments, it requires conflicts, it requires conflict resolution. Why? Why? Why do I need to be with somebody? So we see institution of family is challenged. And without family, civilization cannot survive. Because it is in the family the most beautiful qualities are expressed in the human mind. Mother and father create that type of environment. They create love, they create strictness, and the transmission of knowledge. And security for a growing infant, fulfilling the needs of the baby. So, and it is the science, it is the statistics. The children which are growing in the incomplete families, they face much bigger challenges in comparison to those children who had a privilege to be in a complete and happy and harmonious family. So we see the very scary statistics like Portugal is 94% divorce rate, 94%. Countries of the Soviet Union is 74%. USA holding somehow maintaining 50%. India like 2%, 3%. But still, you see the tendency in the cities, in the big cities, the divorce rate is growing. It's picking up. Before, the family was necessary for also not only love and friendship and satisfaction, but also for the economic survival. So now, due to the technology and the development of the economy, I can survive on my own. So the society gets atomized. And in this process, we are destroying the most precious thing that we have in our life. Love, care, and the wisdom of the family environment. And of course, people don't want to bring children anymore in this world. Like in South Korea, the coefficient of birth rate is only 0.72. It means 3 families, 6 people, can produce only 2 new children. 3 families. It means that society is on the way of disappearing. And of course, the government is understanding that problem. They have invested $260-something billion into stimulating that people give birth to children, but nothing works. And then the entire world. Today, Africa produces 4 to 5 children per family. So they have a good reproduction rate. But after 20, 30 years, when the economic affluence will come to Africa, the situation will be similar to the situations in the West. So we are on the extinction course. Why? Because there is the fourth crisis, the crisis of the meaning. Why do I need to struggle? And also, speaking about the pseudo-culture and the crisis of the will, there is a great infantilization. Like today, we remain a grown-up babies. What is baby and what is an adult? The person who has grown up, he can take care of himself and he can take care of others. And the person who is not mature, he understands this life as an eternal consumption and eternal pleasure. The baby is living in this world. He is being taken care for all his needs by his parents. So today we are eternal babies, we are eternal consumers. And once you are like that, you don't have the will to struggle for your freedom, for your sovereignty. You are not subject anymore. You are an object. You are just a mass, which needs to be taken care by authoritarian government. So once you lose your sovereignty, then the government becomes your parent. The government takes about all your needs when you are sick. The government takes care of you. When you are out of the job, government takes care of you, which is good. Which is good to have that kind of security. But at the same time, the government becomes more restrictive, become more authoritarian, and we become more and more dependent. So these are the problems of the current society. But the underlying problems of all those is the problem of the meaning. Why do I live? Why do I need to struggle? And there has been the original ideas that we had as a humanity about the purpose of life and meaning of life has been replaced. Today we are in a so-called humanistic society in which the center of the universe is I, my pleasure, my needs. Sometimes in the comments when I ask the questions, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Some people are answering, there is no purpose. The purpose of life is just to live. Enjoy life. So we cannot, as a human beings, we cannot accept that answer. To live for ourselves is extremely unnatural, unpsychological for us. So we reject that type of answer. Means we can follow that ideology, but internally we become very unhappy. To be happy, we must live for something greater. Need to live at least for a family, or for a country, or for the humanity, for civilization, for history. I don't want just to disappear from this world. I want to make my coming to this world meaningful. It was interesting. I started to recently write some poetry, and I'm studying different metrics. Like in Vedas, there are 7 chandas. Chandas is a metric size of the poetry. Like there is Gayatri, 8 by 3. There is Jagati, 12 by 4, like 12 syllables in the 4 lines. And I was, because of that, I got curious about our ancestors, how they saw the world. And one discovery I made for myself, like in Gayatri mantra. You know this mantra, Om Bhurbhuva Swaha, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayat Om. The subject of the prayer is not an individuum, but a collectivity. It says, Om Bhurbhuva Swaha, the Lord of the 3 worlds, physical, mental, spiritual, Tat Savitur Varenyam. We meditate that divine sun, that divine source of energy. We meditate on your divine effulgence. Fill us with your grace and inspire us to the path of ultimate good. So something that touched me was that I don't pray for myself, I pray for us. So our ancestors understood the value of us. And today it is only me, myself, and I. So there are 2 questions I must answer. What is the purpose of my life? And what is the purpose of our life? Then I will resolve the crisis of meaning. Then later I can resolve the crisis of intellect. I can resolve the crisis of will, and I will resolve the crisis of heart. My spiritual teacher, Sri Nandamurti, also known as Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, he worked on those ideas back in the year 1960, 1970. And first time I heard these ideas in the year 2000. I was young. But when I listened to that lecture, I became so inspired. I thought, wow, this is a very complete concept of the development of the society. There is one Russian scientist, or Soviet you can say, Lev Gumilev. He worked on the idea of passion as a characteristic of nation. He called it passionality, something like that. That as a nation, civilization has amount of energy. Like, let's say, for you to maintain your existence, to eat, to sleep, to work, to earn money, to eat, to rent your apartment, you need, let's say, 20 watt of energy. But you, as a personality, you have 200 watt. So in that situation, when you have too much energy, that energy drives you. You become driven. You become ambitious. You want to change something in the world. You want to achieve something. You want to take the place in the human history. So that is passionality. When you are full of that type of energy. Many times this kind of passionate people, heroic people, they also sacrifice themselves in the process of achieving that goal, that vision, that passion becomes higher than themselves. That extreme concentration of meaning. He was not very welcomed by the Soviet science because he was kind of contradicting the Soviet science. But he believed in that the cause of that energy is biological, genetical, and he believed some cosmic rays, interact with time to time with some civilizations and awaken that civilization and drive it to the success. And once that energy is spent, then civilization goes in decline. What I love about the concept of my spiritual teacher is that he defines the society which will never become tired. He devises the perennial engine of evolution. And I experience it in my own life, in my own person. Like when I was young, 18 years old, truly speaking, I wanted to cease to exist. Every day was pain. First I tried alcohol, then I tried, different entertainments that young people have. But then I just started to sleep. And I was sleeping 18 hours a day. 18 hours. I invented this system, how to sleep. I sleep, wake up, then again sleep. Then wake up, then again sleep. So 6 hours a day I was functioning, eating, doing something, and then 18 hours I was sleeping. There was no meaning in life. There was no answer to me. Why should I live? Why should I struggle? And later on, I embraced a spiritual path. And I acquired energy. I acquired drive. I acquired the desire to do something. I acquired that passionality. Maybe 200 watt. I don't know, maybe more. It is driving me till now. So, according to Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, what is the eternal engine of our human civilization? He defines that our existence depends on 3 factors. Asti, Bhati, Anandam. Asti means existence. To exist, you need to eat, you need to have clothes, house, you need to have medical care, and you need to have education. So there's 5 basic necessities of life. Once those are created, once those are provided, that's not enough. You need to progress. And what is progress? Progress where? Progress means movement ahead. Progress. Regress moving backward. Progress, moving ahead. So ahead where? You see two examples of sci-fi movies. You take Star Trek. It pictures a utopian future where human beings have become morally developed. And you take Star Wars. It was long ago in far, far away galaxy. But that movie pictures an oligarchic society with a tremendous technology, but of extremely undeveloped humans. Recently, in the Soviet sci-fi movies, there was one movie called The Guest from the Future. It was done in the late Soviet Union before its dissolution. Just Gorbachev came to power. There was not yet Chernobyl, there was nothing. It was the last cry of the Soviet techno-optimism. So the plot of this movie, a boy, is actually a movie for children. So a boy, he finds in the cellar a time machine, and then he travels to the future. And then he sees, he sees the marvels of the future, the technology. He is there in the cosmoport. He's trying to go to the moon, but then he encountered the cosmic pirates, and then there was about some mischief, and then finally, trying to save the situation, he comes back again, saving some very valuable device. He's coming back to his time. And these cosmic pirates, they're pursuing him in the past. But anyway, that's the plot. But what was touching me, what was the beauty of that movie? That the future portrays the people as evolved beings, evolved intellectually, benevolent, moral, aspiring for the greater good of society. I even cried. In the last episode, there was one. It was all the movies about children, like 12 years old. They are running here and there. There is some drama. And in the end of the movie, a grown-up lady comes from the future, and the pirates are there, the children are there, and then she is just like this. In the yogic tantric tradition, is called Abhaya Mudra, means don't fear. Don't fear. And then from here comes the light from this palm. And with that light, she paralyzes these pirates, not killing them, not harming them, but just depriving them from ability to harm. And then escorts them for, proper proceedings there into the future. So this, when I saw, I cried. Is it tremendously powerful imagery? The super weapons under control of the moral people, of the highly developed morally people, intellectually and morally. So that type of utopia I love. I don't like, because as a child, I remember I saw that movie and I was thinking, oh, great, this type of technology I want. But today, we are in the future. We are. I have traveled in a time machine for 50 years, almost 48 years. Naturally, I grew from one age to another age. And I marvel at the technology of 21st century. At the same time, do I feel that I have arrived in that future that I wanted? No. I dreamed as a child about different future. First and foremost, about the future where there is evolution not of technology, but of the soul. So, progress to where? Third factor is anandam, bliss. My teacher defines it. He says, asti existence, the basic necessities. Then progress to where? To anandam. Humanity, individually and collectively, moves to anandam. That is our aesthetic science. You know, aesthetic science is ability to see the beauty and to produce the beauty, to enjoy and to give an enjoyment to others. And on the collective level, aesthetic science is the struggle against the forces which make the society ugly, which deprive the society from bliss, from cosmic happiness. So let us understand the factors of progress. This bhati, it has 6 factors. If those 6 factors are there, the civilization, the society will be moving towards anandam, towards bliss. And everybody is going to be fulfilled. And everybody is going to have a tremendous concentration of energy. That's what is beautiful for me, because I'm very, I love to meet people who are full of passion, the great ideas, full of ambition, full of energy. But it is not very often. So let us understand the 6 factors of progress. Number 1, the presence in the society of spiritual ideology. I know you don't like this word ideology, but it is a very important word, ideology. Ideology comes from philosophy. The basis of ideology is philosophy. The basis of philosophy is questions. Who am I? What is this world? What is my purpose of existing in this world? What is my relationship with the world? So that is philosophy. Once you answer those questions, you have a meaning. Now from that you can define ideology. So in short, I will tell you my ideology, which is very ancient ideology, actually. And then you tell me whether you agree with it or you disagree with it. Maybe you can improve upon it. So the ideology I follow is Atma Mokshartam Jagat Hitaya Cha. In one sentence, I live for Atma Moksha, means evolution of the soul. I want to overcome, I want to subdue lust, anger, greed, jealousy, pride, attachment, cowardliness, hatred, doubt. I want to be extremely clear, and so on. And I want to realize the supreme bliss. And I want to realize the knowledge supreme in my own consciousness. I want to achieve the highest evolution of consciousness. This is first portion of my ideology. And second ideology, second part is Jagat Hitaya Cha. I want to live to promote physical, mental and spiritual welfare of this entire universe. So you tell me you like this or not. Do you think this ideology, this meaning of life is potentially universal, that everybody can accept, independently of what religion we are, of what race we are, of what level we are rich or we are poor, powerful or not, or weak in the society? Do you think this is a good ideology? So for me, it was extremely productive when I have accepted these 2 purposes of my life. It was just like a miracle. It was a transformative miracle. In a few weeks, I stopped all the bad habits, no smoking, no alcohol anymore, no sleeping. The life of discipline have come, life of spiritual practice have come. Now I'm coming to spiritual practice. Okay, I have a meaning of life now. I understand. I live for liberation of consciousness. I want my consciousness to become divine, to become expanded, to experience the entire wonder of this universe, of this creation, of this life. Because how I experience? I only experience with my mind and my consciousness, right? If my mind is very narrow, then my experience is very narrow. So I want to expand my mind. I want to purify my consciousness. And I want to serve the entire world. So everybody can collectively amplify that quest for the highest truth. Okay, meaning is there. Very good. But I am still the same. I am still full of imperfections. So I need a process, I need an engine of transformation, of bringing energy from lower portions of myself to the higher portions, from the lower instincts to the noblest expression of my soul. And that is a science, how to transform, how to sublimate my energy. So that is the second factor. The society needs spiritual practice, practice of transformation, like communism. I grew up in a communist country, and in the West many times they outright denied like communism as an evil system. It's not correct. It's many times it's just also a propaganda. You know this joke, like the American and Soviet person, they're sitting together, and the American says, you know, I must give respect to your propaganda, it's very effective. You know, your government convince you about anything. And the Soviet person says, yeah, thank you very much. But your propaganda is much, you know, 100 miles ahead of ours. And then Americans looks puzzled and says, but we do not have propaganda. And then the Soviet person says, exactly. So there is lots of something was true. I am not missing the communist regimes, but there were some also good things. They aspired for that kind of society, for that kind of society, very human society, very benevolent society, which is no money there, there is no police there in the future, things like that. There is no imposition. Everyone is by themselves, is like a sage. So there was that aspiration, but there was no engine to transform. So that as a system, that ideology relies on the person of highly enlightened person. But in that system, the God is denied, spirituality is denied, and there is no system of transformation. So there must be a system of transformation. There must be spiritual practice. There must be a way to that type of consciousness. Third thing is the social outlook. Social outlook. Outlook. When I look out, what do I see? Do I see many different details? Or do I see a complete picture? Like a cancer cell, it only sees itself. It doesn't understand it is the part of the body. So they just grow and try to prosper, these cancer cells. Finally, they kill the body, they kill themselves. So when I look out, when I see a tree, what do I see? When I see another human being, what do I see? When I see Russian, or when I see American, when I see Indian, what do I see? I see another, the other, or I see the divinity expressed all over, in the tree, in the animal, in all cosmos. See the wholeness, the entirety of the cosmos, and to understand that I am part of this great organism, which is called universe. So for me to prosper, I need to work to the prosperity of universe. So simple. But that outlook today, it is so lacking. Today we see always the other, and we are good and they are bad. We are good, they are bad. Let's fight with the evil, with the absolute evil. Let's fight with them. This is the mentality. We don't understand that by hurting the other, we are hurting also ourselves. So my teacher, he worked on the concept which is called the liberation of the intellect, neo-humanism. And there this book is no less than a weapon. It is an intellectual weapon. It is an ideological weapon. It teaches a person how to think rationally. Because today, my intellect serves my identity, the sense of belonging. I'm American, I'm Russian, I'm European, and I acquire a certain narrative which I adopt as my core belief system, which I adopt as my identity. And my intellect protects that identity instead of trying to find out the truth. So this is a very dangerous situation, especially when we have this extremely great potential for a military escalation and economic war and military war. So this new way of thinking need to be established in society. The fourth one now is something very controversial. I was going to say something very, very controversial. Socio-economic system. How the resources are extracted, how the resources are utilized, how the goods are produced, how the goods are distributed, how the resources of society, how the wealth of society is distributed. Mainly we have two systems. One is capitalism, another one is communism. Communism relies on the higher chakras, on the idea that of universal good. Capitalism relies on the lower chakras, on the selfishness of the human being. Capitalism is doing better because it is more realistic, because to unlock the higher potential, the nobler emotions of human being, there has to be a tremendous culture to promote that. And so both systems, they are actually, they create unnatural situations in humanity. Capitalism concentrates the wealth, sucks the wealth from everybody, focuses in the few hands, creating potentiality for degeneration of the people, because when people need only work, and they don't have any time for cultural and spiritual development, the mind crudifies. And degeneration, of course, for the rich people, because the power corrupts, and the absolute power corrupts absolutely. And then communism even the worse, because the communism is, it doesn't take into account our diversity, our desire for independence, our desire for autonomy. So communism can be only imposed with the rule of the force. So my spiritual teacher, he worked on the alternative socio-economic theory, which is called PROUD, Progressive Utilization Theory. So that theory, I find, it is extremely in alignment with human psychology. It develops slowly, it recognizes the lower instincts. It satisfies also the lower instincts. But slowly it culminates in blossoming of the higher, the tenderness of the human heart, nobility of human intentions. So I find that I'm very follower or adherent to that socio-economic theory. But we need to have the basis. If there is this feeling of injustice, that somebody has everything and somebody else has nothing, somebody is wallowing in luxury and another one is constantly in debt, constantly broken and has to work and work and work, for what? What for? Today we have so much automation. My parents, 40 years ago, they had 2 holidays and then they work 5 days a week, not so much, means not overworking. They could afford to travel, they could afford very comfortable and nice life. Even one person could work and he can maintain the entire household. Today, for the most of the people, situation is you cannot survive. 2 people in the family have to work. So why, if technology is developing, why our level of life is not developing? Because all the resources are sucked upwards and concentrated in the hands of the few. So we need a special way for the society when the society is balanced, where there is no, the entrepreneurial spirit is not killed, that the motivation to work is not destroyed. But at the same time, such a society which doesn't allow the tremendous concentration of wealth. Then the last two, very interesting now. Last two is Shastra and Preceptor. So Shastra means, literally it means scripture. But when you hear scripture, it comes something in mind, something ancient, some religious, outdated maybe. If you see in the word, if you try to understand this word scripture, you will be inspired. Shastra. Shasanat tarayet yastusha shastra parikirtita. That which liberates through discipline is known as Shastra. What means liberate? Like mathematics. Math is a liberating science. Because on the basis of mathematics, we can develop technology, and technology feeds us, transports us, shelters us, and so on and so on. But it is also discipline. You cannot say 2 plus 2 equals 6. Why? Because I feel like this. I identify with 6. I feel like this. Why you feel like this? It just comes out of your mind as a purely unfounded ideology. There is no science underneath. There is no study of... So there has to be science, scientific basis for the existence of humanity. We need to understand our biology. We need to understand our psychology. We need to understand happiness. What is real happiness? Not pleasure. Today, pleasure substituting happiness. Freedom. What is real freedom? We have to understand. Freedom is the ability to do what I want. Or freedom is the mastery of the mind. Is freedom ability to do what I want, or is it ability to control your instincts? Individually and collectively, also to create an environment where the higher instincts are blossoming. What is really freedom? Is freedom the environment when all the lower expressions of human soul are just rampant everywhere? Is it a freedom? To me, it's hell. It's not freedom. Freedom is when the society is balanced and the highest and noblest human beings are getting promoted and shine, and the potential of everybody is getting explored and unfolded. That is freedom for me. So there has to be a study and scientific base and authoritative source of knowledge. We need to solve this epistemological crisis, the crisis of knowledge. What is the true knowledge and what is untrue knowledge? Luckily, we are in time of science. We need to study it more. I feel preliminary. I have a scripture, that's the teachings of my spiritual guru, which is lots of his intuitions are so spot on. But he never did it, his works. He never portrayed it as an ultimate knowledge. He said you have to initiate the studies of this subject immediately. Because without understanding of that, problems of society cannot be solved. Like the scripture, when it is considered to be like an ultimate source of truth, I don't think it is constructive. But when there is a flexibility and constant development and accumulation of knowledge, in systematic accumulation of knowledge about especially very important areas of life, this is so fundamental for our existence and for the progress. And then finally, the preceptor. Preceptor, like I said, for me, it is my spiritual guru, the source of authority, the person with whom I can rely and get inspiration from. Some inspirational figure which with his enlightened consciousness can inspire you that that type of state is possible. So we see in the society, when there is such an inspirational figure, like Buddha, you say, or like a Christ, that society gains a special momentum. That figure is an aspirational figure. Like today, I mean, of course, for the religious people, the religious leader is an embodiment of perfection. But if you study the history, our imagination, our concept, let's say Jesus, we have a concept and we have a historical figure, and they're very different. They're very different. But yet this concept is so important. Somebody whom we really, in that figure, in that symbol, we embody all the best qualities, and we constantly derive the inspiration from that special figure. So that is also part of it gives the dynamism to the human civilization. So today we are experiencing many crises. Crisis of the mind, crisis of the intellect, echo chambers, difficulty to understand what to believe. So much information. All information is available, but no ability to discern what is true and what leads to where. This information and this concept leads to degeneration, or this concept leads to progress. This crisis we have. The brain itself challenged because of the very fast content, and we rely on the artificial intelligence. We don't use the brain the way we used to use it. Then the crisis of will. The pseudo-culture has given us so much pleasures, but took away the desire to live. The crisis of the heart. Family institution is broken. We don't find meaning in procreating and bringing more and more human souls into this world. The crisis of the meaning. So all these crises, they are solved through the 6 factors of Bhati. The spiritual ideology, spiritual practice, the engine of transformation, social outlook, the idea that everything in the world is connected, the universalism, that we live in the universal organism, the welfare of the universal welfare is my welfare. Socio-economic theory, how to distribute and how to utilize resources in the best way to promote the happiness of everybody. Shastra, that which liberates through discipline, knowledge, which we can use to liberate ourselves. And then finally, the preceptor. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. And I would like to discuss with you in the comments what you think about what I have just said. Do you feel that there is a crisis? Can you grasp that or not? Or you think everything is fine? We are still, the wheat is growing, the factories are working, everything is fine. And to be a passionate personality, there is a recipe. Recipe is spiritual practice. So I have recorded a course on meditation which is called Consciousness of an Outstanding Personality. If you practice meditation, you will concentrate your energy. You will liberate your energy from your sensual pleasures. You will liberate your energy from the scattered mind. You will feel the focus. You will become like a laser. And you will feel this drive inside of you. I want to live. and I want to live not simply to live the life of pleasures. I want to live an outstanding life. So I highly recommend you to grow through this course, to master the practice of meditation, and to become a human being of a new type. Because somehow the civilization has to endure. I still feel that perhaps our civilization is going through some sort of collapse. But there will be some portions of that civilization that will be resilient. That resiliency depends on the people with a high energy. And with that resiliency, we will be able to build a new civilization. So thank you very much. Write what you think about it. Namaskar.